Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the UNC Virtual Science Expo. My name is Jonathan Frederick, and I am at the amazing Moorhead Planetarium and Science Center at UNC Chapel Hill. And we're very excited to have you, particularly W.M. Jenkins Elementary and Grover Elementary. And this program is really exciting because we're here to talk about understanding germs. And this is going to seem strange, but I'm in a room where we're physically distanced. There's only 2 other people in this big room. And so you can hear me better. I'm going to remove my mask. But in this interesting new world, everyone else in this room, and this is the first time this has really happened to me, we're all fully vaccinated, but we're still leaving windows open, remaining physically distanced, and wearing our masks when appropriate. Today, as I said, we're going to talk about understanding germs, and the students and teachers from W.M. Jenkins Elementary and Grover Elementary School, thank you so much for being here. What an amazing and strange school year it's been. We're excited to have you, and we encourage you to ask any questions you may have. And you can do that by dropping them in the Q&A feature of the Zoom meeting, or if you want to raise your hand, our tech folks may be able to unmute you, provided we have enough time to take all the questions. If you're logging in via YouTube, you can ask questions via ncscifest@unc.edu. You just email us and we'll monitor our email inbox and we'll hopefully get to all your questions. Today, as we understand germs, we have 3 experts here from the UNC Children's Research Institute. Their mission is to support and develop researchers focused on pediatric, which means children, pediatric disease, and they work together to advance children's health in North Carolina and beyond. It is my pleasure to introduce Marsha Russell, Michelle Hernandez, and the partner we're going to be talking to first, Kate Matthews. Thank you so much for being here, and take it away, Kate.
Hi, everybody. We're so excited that you're here. Thanks for tuning into our presentation today. Later in the presentation, we're going to be doing an experiment. So if you don't have them on hand already, make sure to go ahead and gather a bowl of water, some pepper, a cloth, and some dish soap. The bowl of water should be about halfway full. So thank you for that wonderful introduction, Jonathan. I just want to say we'd like to thank all of the organizers at the Moorhead Planetarium and the UNC Science Expo for making today possible. We're so thrilled to spend some time with you, especially at Jenkins and Grover Elementary, so you can learn about germs. I'd also like to go ahead and introduce the folks who are going to be presenting today. First, myself. My name is Kate, and I'm a program manager with the Department of Pediatrics at UNC and the UNC Children's Research Institute. Here with me is Dr. Hernandez, but you can call her Michelle. Michelle is a doctor and a researcher scientist at UNC who studies allergies, asthma, and your immune system. Say hi, Michelle.
Hi, everyone.
Also with me is Dr. Russell, but you can call her Marsha. Marsha is a doctor and researcher at UNC who studies germs and how doctors can improve care and treatments people get when they're in the hospital or when they go to the doctor. Say hi, Marsha.
Hi, everyone.
So we're going to go ahead and get started, but like Jonathan said, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and the helpers from the planetarium will see them and let us know, and we'll just chime in whenever. So I think we've all heard a lot about germs in the past 14 months. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be talking about how germs can spread from person to person and what you can do to stop that. Germs can spread in a lot of ways, from being around other people who are sick, from touching things that have germs on them, and then like touching our face. A lot of viruses and bacteria spread that way, and it's also how coronavirus spreads, which is probably the germ you've heard the most about in the last 14 months. There are a few things that you can do to stop the spread of coronavirus and germs more broadly speaking, which you probably have already heard of. Wear a mask, wait 6 feet apart, wash your hands. Michelle and I have actually both been vaccinated, so that's why we're okay being this close to each other, but normally we would be practicing some social distancing techniques. So why is it important to wear a mask though? I think it helps to look at a common way that germs travel. So this is something that you can do at home with your parents' permission. We're going to be using food coloring and paint. So set this activity up outside if they do give you permission to do it. What you want to do is get a spray bottle and you add some food coloring to water in a spray bottle. You can set up some paper about 1 foot away from you, and then you can spray the colored water. So why we're doing this is because we're imitating a human sneeze, because sneezes can travel a really, really far. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our paper. It's going to be slightly off screen for you guys, but we're going to show you what it looks like afterwards. So what we're going to do is move this back about 1 foot from us. And we are going to sneeze. Michelle?
All right, are you ready for me to do my pretend sneeze?
Yes.
Yeah.
Chew.
Oh. Oh. I thought they were going to travel far, but that's pretty bad. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to move our paper back a little bit this way to a distance of 3 feet. And just see what happens.
Okay, want me to move this?
Yeah.
Let's see. All right.
Okay, what do we think is going to happen here, guys? Michelle?
I hope I don't see as much color on that thing.
I hope so too.
Because this is pretty
We'll
gross.
see.
All right, ready? Okay, I need to get a big
Ready?
sneeze. Can you guys help me? One,
One,
two,
two,
three.
three.
Ah,
Ugh.
okay. So like the magic number we keep hearing is 6 feet, right? So people want to stay 6 feet apart. What we're going to do is we're going to back this guy up all the way to 6 feet and we're going to try sneezing one more time and see what happens. What do you think's going to happen, Michelle?
I don't know. I have a feeling this is pretty strong. I think
Yeah.
we're going to see a little bit of purple on here.
All right, Marsha, what do you think's going to happen?
I think we may be able, we'll see. I think we're at a safe spot. We might just be able to beat it and see nothing. We'll see.
Okay,
Let's
okay.
cross our fingers.
All right.
Let's see. Ready?
Move this back a little bit more. It's off
All right.
screen, but I promise it's still happening.
Okay. Can you guys help me give a really good sneeze? Ready?
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Chew.
Okay. All right, so we're just gonna move this back and we're gonna show you guys what we just did. Now, like I said, this is something that you can do at home, outside, with food coloring. It's a lot of fun, or with washable paint. But let's go ahead and look here. This is why it's important to keep your distance from other people, because germs can travel really far. Do you see all this? So the red was what we got from 1 foot. This green color was from 3 feet. And down here, this purple blue, that's 6 feet, because germs can travel really far in sneezes. This is why it's really important to wear a mask. It's also why it's important to cover your elbow and your nose. Don't cover your elbow, cover your nose with your elbow or your mouth with a tissue. So if I have COVID or some other virus or germ and I sneeze in a space that I'm sharing with Michelle, there's a high chance she's going to touch my germs and they'll get breathed into her body. But if I sneeze or I breathe into my mask, then the germs stay there. So watch this. I'm going to take some paint. I'm going to sneeze into this tissue. Look, it's on the tissue. And yeah, that's pretty gnarly. But the important thing is it didn't go beyond that and spread out to other people. So the opposite is kind of true too. If someone else is sick and you're wearing a mask, the mask protects your nose and your mouth from being exposed to the germs. This is why it's really important to make sure you're wearing a mask properly. If you have a mask on, but it's not over your nose and your mouth, you're not fully protected. So if it helps, let's think about this. A cough, for instance, could travel as fast as 50 miles per hour and creates almost 3,000 little tiny water droplets in the air. That's just a little bit slower than when a cheetah's at a full sprint. Sneezing, on the other hand, is much faster. A sneeze can travel up to 100 miles per hour. Wow,
That's crazy.
and creates 100,000 droplets. And if you're sick when you sneeze, each droplet contains germs and can spread out to other people, like we've shown off here.
That's a great. There is a question actually from W.M. Jenkins Elementary about, you mentioned how fast a sneeze can travel. Do you know how far? Like what if you're someone trying to go win the sneeze Olympics in terms of distance, how far can a sneeze travel?
There have been a couple of different studies on that. Michelle, do you know off the top of your head?
I mean, so the 6 feet thing is a classic, but I think it's honestly more for cough than anything else. I mean, I think it can go beyond even, and this sounds gross, I think it can go beyond 10 feet if you have a lot of propulsion, right? Like if you have a lot of pollen allergies, right? Like we do right now in North Carolina with all that tree pollen, and you get going, you know, sometimes those little droplets land in places you never quite expected, which is sort of gross.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's kind of gross. Yeah.
Great question. Keep them coming. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a great question. Thank you. Okay. So we've included some other fun activities about how germs spread in the materials that your teachers and got you before the presentation. There are some cool ones in there. I definitely recommend one with glitter that's fun to try, but you always want to ask for permission from your parents before you bring out the glitter. So, okay. So moving on from mask, why is it important for you to wash your hands? Well, now we're going to do a little experiment that shows you how soap works. So like I said at the top here, you're going to need a bowl of water, some pepper, a cloth, and some dish soap. So thank you, Michelle. Your bowl of water should be about halfway full. You want to take your pepper, try not to sneeze, and sprinkle it on the top.
So here. Okay,
Yeah.
so here we have our water.
We're going to take our pepper, we're going to sprinkle it on the top of the water. It's going to float on top of the water.
You know what the good news is?
What?
I'm not going to sneeze because of the pepper because I'm wearing a mask.
Okay, so let's see. So you can kind of see our pepper down in here in the water.
Do you see how it's it's mostly at the top. Now it's starting to sink towards the bottom, but you see it's all around there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once the pepper is covering the water, you want to take your finger and let's touch the water.
Okay. Here.
Ew. Okay.
Oh, that's gross, Kate.
Let's imagine for a second that these pepper flakes are germs. Ew. Look how it sticks to you. And then look how it sticks to other things. Like if I touch my head, I've got it on my head. And then if I touch my mask, it's on my mask. If I was to touch Michelle, it'd be on Michelle. So, think of them as germs, and that's what you do. So what we're going to do now is we're going to clean off our finger. Sorry, I'm slowly cleaning off my finger. And now what we're going to do is we're going to dip our fingers in dish soap. So if you have some dish soap, I've got mine in my nice little container here, Michelle. I'm going to dip your finger in there.
Oh boy, I get the honor. Okay.
Yep.
Oh boy. What do I think is going to happen what do you think the dish soap is going to do?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to touch the water with our finger covered in dish soap. But before we do that, we want to make a prediction about what we think is going to happen. How's the pepper going to react to being touched by the soap? What's going to happen to the soap? If you have a neighbor that you're sitting next to right now at school, turn to them and share what you think is going to happen. Marsha, what do you think is going to happen?
I think that those peppers going to be scared of that soap. It's just going to go flying.
Okay. All right. So before doing experiments, scientists make it's a prediction about what they think is going to happen when they do their experiment. Another word for these predictions and our guesses is what scientists call a hypothesis. Michelle, what's your hypothesis?
So my hypothesis is going to be that by putting the soap on my finger, it's going to prevent the pepper flakes from sticking to my fingers. And so if we think of the pepper flakes like germs, it's going to prevent the germs from sticking to my fingers.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Are you ready?
Let's touch the pepper.
All right, let's touch the pepper.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Look how the pepper's scared of the soap. Isn't that cool?
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
And now let's look at my finger. It's still covered in soap, but I don't see any pepper flakes.
So what we just saw, did that match what you predicted was going to happen? Did it match your hypothesis? This is what we just showed off was kind of similar to what happens when we wash our hands with soap and water to get rid of dirt and germs. When you use soap, part of the soap wants to stick to the water on your hands. Actually, let's take it back a bit. So soap molecules, which a molecule is like the building block that puts everything together. So if you could zoom in on soap, like super tiny, you would see little molecules of soap. And they're actually kind of shaped like push pins like this. Okay, so one end of the soap wants to stick to the water on your hands. Let's say this end likes water. So it wants to it's attracted to it and wants to go hang out with it. The other end is attracted to germs because it wants to hang out with the fat and the proteins that are surround like a virus and a bacteria. So it wants to go this way. So you got a bunch of these guys all together and you put them on your hands with water. As you work the soap into a lather, the parts of the soap work together to break down the germs and the dirt because it pulls them apart because they're going every which way. They're like, and then once you wash the soap off, the germs are carried away and your hands are clean. So that's why it's really important to use soap, water, and to make sure that you wash your hands for at least 20 seconds to give the soap time to work. Now, a good way that I do to remember the 20 seconds is I sing happy birthday to myself twice because it's exactly 20 seconds. And that's something that you can do too. So before we move on here, I just want to check with our friends at the planetarium, see if any other questions have come into the chat. Anybody else have anything they want to ask?
We haven't had any questions come in yet, but I was wondering just, and it's kind of a tricky question, but we don't need to be scared of all germs, right? Like we want to wash our hands and we want to be really, really clean, but it's not like we need to be afraid of everything. And this is a tricky time to ask this question, right?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Thank you for asking that, Jonathan. What do you think, Marcia?
So I don't think we need to be like afraid of germs. We need to just know that we need to protect ourselves from them, but we don't have to like, oh my God, I can't go outside. You know, if I go outside, I'm going to get sick. We just need to know that they're there, and we just have to be, what would say, at all times, we take our precautions, wash our hands at all times, regardless of whatever you do before you eat, before you get to the bathroom, all these things. But there's no need to, be scared and say, oh my God, there's germs out there, I can't play. You certainly need to go there and play, but just always remember to, at all times, just wash your hands. That's the tip of the day.
Great answer. Thank you. The students are starting to warm up. Questions are starting to come in.
Okay.
One question is, does the soap that you wash your hands with, does it need to be a special kind of soap, like antibacterial soap?
It does not need to be antibacterial. So whatever soap your skin does well with, you don't want things that really irritate your hands a lot. So if you find a soap that you and your family like, and everything's great, then just use it. But the importance is using it. So being consistent in your soap.
Great answer. What? that was awesome.
That was adorable.
Another great question from W.M. Jenkins Elementary. Thank you, students. Do the germs sink into your sink, or are they all in your sink? Where do the germs go? And I do want to hear who our friend is.
Yeah.
Marcia, who's that teddy bear in your background that keeps visiting us?
That's my teddy bear husband. He's just a big kid, so he wants to be here too. And he's a little bit envious.
So I'm sorry, the question was, where did the germs go?
Yeah, or do they sink into your sink, or do we have to worry about the handles and the sink itself? Where do the germs go, and do they sink into your sink?
I mean, the germs are always there. So, we just always have to remember, just clean our sinks down as much as possible. They're always going to be like on handles and so on, but as much, especially in COVID, we try to say wipe down as much as possible. But the big thing to know is really, you're not always going to be to have the opportunity to be washing things down. But the big thing is just wash your hands, because germs are always going to be around. So it's just always just a good habit to just take care of your surroundings, keep clean at all times, keep your home clean at all times, and as much as you can, try to keep your surroundings clean.
Okay, I know we have other things to cover, but there are a couple great questions from Grover Elementary that I'd love to get to. Is warm water better than cold water when you're washing your hands or cleaning things?
Oh, that's a good question, Michelle.
Yeah.
I like warm water because I don't like cold water. How's that? I think it's based on preference. Marcia,
Yeah.
you don't have any difference as long as you use soap, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's a big difference between cold and warm, really. Yeah.
Okay, great. And one more. How do we test hand sanitizer to know if it works? How do we know if it works?
I think the studies have shown if the hand sanitizer has more than 70% alcohol, I think 70% was that magical number, then it should be effective. And so we actually have some hand sanitizer here, right? So
we sure do.
Honestly, most hand sanitizers that you buy are safe. There are a couple though, right? That some people made on the side. If it's something that you're buying like on eBay, probably not, probably not as safe, but something that you would buy at a regular grocery store, just look for 70% and higher and you should be okay. But another thing that comes up is some people, their hands really get irritated with hand sanitizer and they can start getting, a little bit of redness and a little bit of scratchiness. So what I tell people at that point, and I do this myself, I wash my hands with soap. And it actually, I wash my hands a lot, before and after every patient I see. And as you see, my hands are looking pretty good right now.
Wonderful. They're wonderful hands. I have a question, another one from W.O. Jenkins Elementary that I love. How do scientists like yourselves capture germs to test them?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Ugh.
Well, I would say it depends on the germ. Some you have to kind of grow yourself, and then others you may be able to capture them from like samples. But Michelle?
Yeah, so my research lab looks at rhinovirus, which is the virus that causes the common cold, like when you get all snotty and stuff like that. And so we actually got that sample from someone who had that virus like a really, really long time ago. And you can grow the virus in cell culture and you can maintain it. So I think this specific strain of virus is over 10 years old. And we just keep it, I know, right? And we keep it in the lab, but so we have to be really safe, right? So we wear eye protection, we wear masks, we wear gloves, we're all suited up just to make sure that from the viruses that we're working with, we don't get it ourselves. But I think, and Marcia, in terms of like bacteria, how do we get those kinds of samples?
And so most of those samples are usually like obtained from blood samples from patients. So, patients who may come in the hospital and have an infection, what we typically do, we do blood tests. So basically we get a needle, stick in the vein, draw some blood. That blood is taken to the lab, and then they have these special like big ovens where you can imagine like these warm ovens, what we call incubators, and pretty much they squeeze the blood on a little plate, and then this bacteria, if there's a bacteria in the blood, when you put it in the oven, it just gives the conditions so that this bacteria will want to grow and grow. Whereas, normally if the blood was just lying there, it wouldn't have expanded as much as this big super oven that's in the lab.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different ways to get samples. And so a lot of different researchers, right, are looking at bacteria and viruses and even fungus to see how, humans are impacted by this stuff so that it can help us figure out ways to treat patients better, including developing vaccines so that if we get exposed to things, we don't get as sick.
Mm-hmm.
Can you mix hand sanitizer with soap? Does that work any better against germs?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
could say
But
soap
either or,
and
it's
water.
good.
That was a pretty resounding nah. So good answer.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And some people think, like one is better, but it's just as long as you're using your soap effectively, it should be just as good.
Excellent. Middle Creek Elementary. Hello, Middle Creek Elementary students. They're watching on YouTube. They want to know what makes germs.
That's a good
Oh
question.
dear, that's a good one.
Oh my good. Okay, Marcia.
We're stumped here.
You know what? These are my favorite types of questions because experts know so many things, but there's always more to know and learn. So what we'll do, we're going to make a note of that question and we're going to get back to you. What an outstanding question. Where do germs come from and what makes them? Here's another one that I'm reading, and it says, is a wrapper like the wrapper around a piece of candy? I guess they don't want us to confuse it with like a hip hop MC. Is a wrapper a good way to protect the candy? I think the candy they're talking about from germs. Does a wrapper keep things safe?
For sure. And the wrapper is like our skin is like the wrap. If you think of the wrapper like wrapping the candy, you can think of the wrapper also like your skin, and the skin is a part of our immune response to it. It keeps us safe as well, so that's, you can think of the skin as a part of just keeping us safe from germs as well, even though that's not the ultimate thing that's going to prevent us at all times, but definitely a wrapper will prevent you from getting germs.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that your body has a thing that's called an immune system, and it's there to fight germs for you. So when you're exposed to germs that do get into your body usually knows what to do. That's just why you want to kind of help it out by washing your hands, preventing germs from getting to you. But if they do get to you, your immune system is going to be able to take care of it for most germs for you.
Yeah.
So we do have one other thing we want to cover, and then we'll probably go back to some questions. One last thing that you can do to stay safe from germs is to get vaccinated against them when you're able to. Now, depending on the germ, there isn't always a convenient vaccine that you can get, like the common cold, unfortunately. But vaccines are usually given to you by a shot that you receive at your doctor's office. Now, I don't like needles. Michelle, do you like needles?
Oh, no,
No,
never.
No.
Mm-mm.
And we know that shots and needles can be scary and can hurt just a little bit, but it's important to keep in mind that the vaccines keep your body strong and they'll protect you from getting sick. And they work in a couple of different ways. It depends on the type of germ that you're getting vaccinated for, but I think it's helpful to think of them in terms of like blueprints or instructions for your body. When you get a vaccine, your body is being given instructions on how to fight or prevent a certain germ from making you sick. It'll either prevent the germ from making you sick, or it'll keep you from getting as sick as you would if you weren't protected. That means if you come into contact with a virus or bacteria, your body already knows what to do to keep you safe. So it's like on the front lines, ready to go. And that's why you get like a flu shot every year. You stay one step ahead of the virus and you stop others in the community from getting sick. Now, COVID vaccines, which we've also heard a lot about recently, are really important to stopping the spread of the virus in the community. Now, COVID vaccines are for kids are still being worked on and scientists are still learning about them, but they are becoming more readily available in little things called clinical trials. So you can help by talking to your parents about joining a vaccine trial when they're available in your community, if your parents say it's okay. A lot of hospitals around here, including UNC, currently we're working on vaccine trials for kids, and we're going to have some very soon. So joining a vaccine trial is always your decision. Your participation is completely voluntary. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to, and you can change your mind at any time. So we just wanted to talk a little bit about that. But now, if you have any other questions, let's go.
There are some great questions that have come in.
Awesome.
So what are in vaccines?
Well, it depends on the vaccine, but
So typically in most vaccines, it's a portion of a bacteria or a virus that is important in infecting you. And so if it's part of a complete virus or bacteria, it can make you sick. But what they do is they take a little segment out, they put it by itself, and that way it can't do anything. It can't make you sick, but it tricks the body into making an immune response against it so that you remember that it was there. So if you get exposed to that bacteria or virus in the future, your immune system says, hey, I remember seeing you and I don't like you. So I'm going to try to get rid of you really, really quickly. And that's how vaccines can protect you from getting sick.
So this question's a tough one. How many vaccines are there? And maybe if we can't answer that, what are some other types of vaccines that we already know about and take regularly?
wow.
So we have, well, actually, to get to school, we have to get quite a number of vaccines. And Marcia and I can do this. Let's see. We have the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine.
Yeah,
Those are part of your kindergarten vaccines.
yeah,
Diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis, which is whooping cough.
great.
What else?
You have the pneumonia vaccine, which is a pneumococcal vaccine. The H flu vaccine, this is one that protects against pneumonia as well. You have the hepatitis vaccines, and you have hepatitis B, hepatitis A. Those are the two main vaccines. And you actually, what else do you have? And then in the older age groups, you have the meningitis vaccine, which we call the Menatra. And for the teenage girls, we have the vaccine that protects against cervical cancers. We call that Gardasil.
Right?
And what else?
We have a yellow fever vaccine for people that are going to travel to places with yellow fever. You can get that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm counting
The
a
one
lot.
that's called Rhinovirus, which actually most people like that one because there's no stick for that one. That's just one you get a drop in your mouth that protects against rhinovirus, which gives you what we call a disease called gastroenteritis, which is where you get lots of poops, runny poops, and vomit. So that's a good one out there too.
Yeah.
I was wondering how long it would take till we got to runny poops and vomit. So we made it. We're doing well. It's important. It's part of our body. Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I took a trip to go to another part of the world, I had to get 5 vaccines. They gave me 3 shots in one arm, and then I got 2, and I had to get boosters. Vaccine science has been around for a long time, and it's incredibly effective. Do any shots hurt more than others?
I think that it depends on I think it depends on you. A lot of times it's how your immune system is going to react to the shot. Most of the time they don't really hurt more than one or more than the other. There's the initial like prick of it. And then most of the time what you get is your arm is just going to kind of be a little bit sore and maybe a little bit hot to the touch, but it'll go away within 24 hours, and you can help it a long time by like moving your arm around or like taking some Tylenol from your mom or something like that, and it would help that way.
Yeah, and sometimes you get sore afterwards because of the immune response that you're making to those vaccines. So I remember after I got one of my vaccines recently, I got a little sore and I was like, oh yeah, I'm making immunity against this stuff. And I was pretty happy about it. Exactly. I'm getting muscles.
And Michelle, I think it was you who mentioned that your research was about some of the common cold viruses. There is a question here about that. Is anyone working on a vaccine for the common cold?
Oh wow.
They've tried to. They've tried to make, but the common cold, it's pretty common, right? It doesn't sound that mysterious, but it's actually a very clever little virus. It likes to change itself just enough so that when you start developing immunity against it, it changes enough so that your body can't recognize it. And so it just keeps moving. It just keeps changing along. And so I know that there was a recent study where they tried, but it didn't work out so well. If they ever figure it out, I want to sign up because I get the cold all the time and I don't like it.
Okay. I have a really good one from email. Are you ready? Fasten your seatbelts, scientists. For growing the human nasal epithelial cells,
yes.
How do you keep a perfect growing environment like the human body? I'm going to say that's the same students from Middle Creek Elementary because they asked that tough question before.
That was like an incredibly sophisticated question. So
yeah.
you're much smarter than we are. Okay, so what we do is you have a culture medium, and which has a variety of different sugars and proteins, and it has the right pH. I think you guys have learned about pH, and it tries to mimic what you see in the human body. And so we have to feed our little cells every couple of days to keep them happy. I never thought I'd be saying that. I want to keep my little cells happy. And as Marcia referred to earlier, we have something called an incubator, which is like a really low heat oven, just to keep the cells nice and warm because our bodies are pretty warm too. And so we actually can grow these cells. You're gonna be grossed out from this. We actually scrape people's noses to get the samples of the cells to then start growing in the laboratory on these little plates. And after a while, we get the cells to look exactly what it does on your nose. So part of the cells have these little hairs sticking up and they look at the air. And then the bottom parts of the cells are exposed to that culture medium, which is what feeds them and maintains them healthy. And these cells can make mucus, which is snot. So it's pretty crazy, the stuff that people figured out so that we can grow this kind of stuff in the laboratory. But that has helped us as researchers, right? Because we want to try to mimic what we actually see in the human body.
Incredible answer. Well done, well done. And I'm convinced I'm going to wear my mask, even though I've been vaccinated and being distanced. So thank you so much.
I got a purple one.
Yeah, I like it. We have a UNC. I don't know if you can see that. See a little
Very
UNC
nice.
celebrate. Do you have anything else you'd like to say? These questions were incredible. Such a great series of elementary schools that joined us. Kate, Marcia, Michelle, is there anything else you'd like to add or you want to leave people with as we sign off here?
3 W's. Wear your mask.
Yeah, I would say wait 6 feet, wash your hands, wear your mask, and that's
Yeah.
really, you will be amazed.
Yeah, have fun with your mask. I've seen my patients have brought in some really, really cool masks.
Mhm.
So sometimes I try to find out where they bought them so I can get them for myself and my kids too. But again, wash your hands, most important thing. Stay safe,
Outstanding.
everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much for the time. We really appreciate all the work you're doing to help keep children and all of us safe. Incredible work. Thank you for tuning in. We want to thank our speakers, also the elementary schools, as well as our sponsors, the Biogen Foundation, who's the presenting sponsor of the North Carolina Science Festival, the Burroughs Welcome Fund, the Diamond Champion sponsor,